Wrapping up the afternoon today with a little Law&Crime. This is a case about the sentencing of that 70s show actor Danny Masterson. He was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison yesterday. He was found guilty in May of raping 2 women at his Los Angeles home. He had a little home in the Hollywood Hills there. This all happened in the early 2000s. The jury could not reach a verdict on a 3rd sexual assault charge. The accusers testified that he would invite them to his home, offer them a drink, get them intoxicated before raping them. Masterson has denied any wrongdoing of sexual assault, and he is expecting to appeal, claiming that the encounters were with women. It was totally consensual. We've heard that story before. Important to note that the 3rd claim that was not proven, or at least to jury satisfaction, was a girlfriend he'd had an on and off relationship with for quite some time. May have made it more difficult for them to come to a unanimous decision. It was ultimately decided 8-4 to convict, but a hung jury and therefore a dismissal. And that 3rd case was never retried. The first 2 actually were retried after hung juries, and so finally he gets his sentencing, and 30 years to life is, I believe, the top potential sentence for this case. Rich Schoenstein here, Katherine Lizardo. So, Katherine, this is quite the message. California court, who knows how much of the 30 years he'll serve, but give me your take on the sentence.
Well, this sends a strong message that even if you have the Hollywood factor on your side, that you will receive the maximum sentence. And you mentioned it's 30 years to life here. And putting that in context, since Masterson is 47 years old, he's not going to be eligible for parole or be able to, he'll be about 77 years old by that time with that kind of sentence. What's interesting is his lawyers are already stated that there are constitutional issues at play here. What that is, we will soon find out when they file the briefs.
Yeah, I think from the photos there, I think Tom Mesereau is his attorney. Even with the mask on, his shock of white hair is hard to disguise. Rich, what do you think about the fact that they tried this multiple times and then they finally kicked the 3rd potential charge off? And I really do think it was because of the relationship with the girlfriend made it harder for a jury to go for that. What's your take on going after him more than once to get this ultimate result?
Well, that's always a difficult decision for the prosecutor. Anytime you go to trial, these trials are very expensive and they're very time consuming for the state. And so when you put all of your resources into that and you get a hung jury, you really have to think, can we learn from this time? Can we fix this and get a conviction the next time? Is the case worthy of going to a 2nd trial? Do we want to go through that and put the state through the expense of that again? And here I think they did, in part because it was high profile and in part because it involves the Church of Scientology. That is another factor. I think you have a celebrity, you have a high profile religious organization, and I think the prosecutors felt like they should persevere until they got a jury.
And I know that's a huge issue for the appeal. They're saying that whole Scientology thing had nothing to do with these trials, and it prejudiced the jury against Mr. Masterson. Now, Katherine, this is not the first time we've seen celebrities caught up in sex-based crimes. We got the Weinstein case, et cetera, et cetera. This one, though, seems to me to be more straightforward, if that's a way I can put it. I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that as we compare the Masterson case to cases like Weinstein.
Well, this seems straightforward, like you mentioned, and in no way, of course, you and I or anyone is belittling the case, but because of the fact that this happened at his home and that both witnesses, or both of the victims, said that they were drugged or they were intoxicated, and that Masterson was also threatening one of them with a gun. But the thing is, though, what's interesting too is in the first trial where it was deadlocked, the defense believed that the jury was in their favor of acquitting him. That's why they filed some motions afterwards to dismiss the case, that even if the case was retried, the same hung jury will be the result of it. But clearly, the prosecution believed that they had a strong evidence, and there is a conviction for those two victims here.
These are always he said, she said cases. We know that. I don't think there was any video evidence from the home. But it's so cliche, Rich. The crazy celebrity, because in 02, 03, when these things happened, it was the height of that 70s show.
Right.
So, it just seems like you're a target, perhaps, if you're in that realm and you take somebody home that you're not really familiar with. I mean, I think it can be a hard case to prove.
Yeah, and you mentioned Harvey Weinstein. The case that came to mind for me was Bill Cosby, because it's multiple women, it's someone very famous, there's a use of intoxicants as part of the crime. So I found similarities. Now, Cosby allegedly had many more victims than Masterson did, but it is a similar pattern, and it presents a difficulty because you can imagine a woman coming to his home, and you can imagine some uncertainty about what happened and why it happened and who consented to what. And really, the only thing that allows it to become a case is that there are multiple women. I think if this had been a one-woman case and it's just he said, she said, it's really difficult.
Katherine, that was the grounds on the Cosby case as well. The court allowed multiple alleged victims to pile on. 20-second answer, is that the way it should be? Should there be some restriction on the number of folks who can make the claim in the same trial?
Yeah, I think it should be that way if, like as here, the MO seems to be similar with Masterson. But of course, that depends as a lawyer answer.
Okay. Well, we will see what happens with the appeal. It'll be very interesting to see, what specific points they make. Hasn't been lost to me the fact that he's 47 now, 30 years, he'll be out in his 70s. That 70s show star. Anyway, I'm going to thank and excuse Rich Schoenstein, Katherine Lizardo. Always good to have you guys here, and we'll do it again. I'm confident of that. I'm Michael Bryant. Make sure that you stick around next week. We've got all of these trials are starting to unfold. So try to do the right thing.